Before we get into our show, we feel now is the best time to tell you that Scarifyer is a proud supporter of Rue Morgue. Rue Morgue is the world's leading horror and culture and entertainment brand, spearheaded by its multiple award-winning magazine, Rue Morgue and Rue Morgue Digital. But if reading is not your thing, that's okay, because Rue Morgue TV, the official YouTube channel, as well as Rue Morgue Cinema, which produced the acclaimed original film The Last Will and Testament of Rosalind Lee. So head over to ruemorgue.com and subscribe to Rue Morgue Magazine for your bi-monthly slice of horror, culture, and entertainment today.
Finally, the most grounded, the most true to form, the most faithful adaptation of a horror remake ever. 2009's Friday the 13th.
You serious?
To a new world of gods and monsters.
Did you know a young boy drowned here? He wasn't a very good swimmer. The counselors weren't paying attention. He should have been watched every minute. You see, he was my son. His name was Jason. And today is his birthday.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scarifyer. I am the Gov.
And I'm Quinn.
And happy Friday the 13th, August 13th, 2021, which can only mean one thing. We're here to talk about what? Child's Play.
Gov, try again.
Yeah, no. We are in week 2 of our Remake Month here on Scarifyer, and we thought with today's date, what better way than to talk about 2009's Friday the 13th. What do you think?
We kind of had to. I kind of feel like we were obligated.
It is. This one, we threw the polls up. We let you guys vote in and decide, help us decide what we should talk about this month. And we did see this one pop up every now and then, but this one was already, it was written in stone when we decided to do this. We knew this was coming up. And it is a movie that I've been waiting to talk about for quite some time because I have the ultimate question. I put it out there on our group pages as well, and maybe by the end of this show, we'll finally answer. I want to take on, is this a remake?
Remake or reboot, honestly, it's one of those rare films where it depends on how you want to look at it, because it could be either or it could be both. So I think as we dive into this, I think that we can definitely get to kind of play both sides, and you, the listener, let us know what you think.
On the marquee, it was advertised as a remake of 1980's Friday the 13th, and we actually did a episode of the original Friday the 13th. We did that about a year ago. You can click here to go check out that episode so you can see what we thought about that film, and we can also maybe explain why our production assistant Kyle has the limp.
Well, we figured that he would stay home for this episode just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. Well, like some of the films that show up on this show, it has a very long and extensive background. So I just kind of summarized it to how this project got going, and here it is. New Line Cinemas, Toby Emmerich approached Platinum Dunes producers Michael Bay, Brad Fuller, and Andrew Form about remaking Friday the 13th in the same way they restarted the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. They agreed and spent over a year obtaining the film rights from Paramount Pictures, New Line, and Crystal Lake Entertainment, the latter run by Friday the 13th's creator Sean S. Cunningham. Fuller and Form said they did not want to make Friday the 13th Part 11 or 12, but wanted to rework the mythology. They liked elements from the first 4 films, such as plot points and particular ways characters are killed, and planned to use these in their remake, which they did with Paramount's approval. Though the producers decided that Friday the 13th would not be an origin story, they said they wanted to work out a logical origin story for Jason that would provide a sense of history as the film progressed. Directed by the aforementioned Texas Chainsaw remake director Marcus Nespel, Friday the 13th was released February 13th, 2009, making an impressive $92.7 million on a $19 million budget, but failing to ignite a new franchise. So there it is. I mean, we kind of answered a little bit of our dying question just with that backstory, but we'll dig into it a little bit more. Quinn, where were you Friday the 13th, 2009?
Let's see. 2009, how old was I? Okay, I can't give my location of where I was at that time for that age, but I can tell you I was at a friend's house where most people were passing out, and I was the only one that stayed awake long enough to watch the movie.
Sounds like a good time.
Oh, it was interesting.
Well, I was in the theater. I was sitting there opening day, ready for this brand new franchise starter that is supposed to remake this classic tale of Friday the 13th, and much to no one's real surprise, I was disappointed.
I was going to ask, did you walk out disappointed?
A little bit. And you want to know why? It's because, all right, for this movie to come out and say that it's a remake, be advertised as a remake, and it's going to retell the story of Jason, well, there's your first problem right there. The original had nothing to do with Jason. Jason was a catalyst for Pamela Voorhees to kill people. This is not that movie. This isn't even the opening credits, which is the only time they really do touch upon recreating the original, no?
Oh, buckle up, people. Gov is about to have a rant.
It's honestly, well, it's not really a rant. It's just a question, and it's how do you categorize this film? I almost didn't want to talk about this film during Remake Month, but again, this month happened to fall on a Friday the 13th, so we kind of had to.
Well, I mean, to be fair, from the sound of the backstory, it almost does sound like they wanted to reboot it. It doesn't quite sound like a remake. Because remake means that it would be like the original script and everything, and that's not what they wanted to do. They basically wanted to change everything about it. So to me, that screams reboot.
Well, see, that's it. I would categorize 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre much more of a remake than I would say this film, only because it does try to retell the story. Yes, it tells it differently with different characters, but the story's essentially the same. Driving down the back road of Texas in the 70s, group of kids break down for one reason or another, whether it's they need gas or somebody blows their head off in the back of the car. Either way, we meet the family and horror and gore ensues. You can't say the same about this film. No. And in that backstory, they admitted to it that they wanted elements, but they did not want to tell an origin story or retell the original, which is fine. But what should it be categorized at? So,
so let's talk about the film itself. Let's talk a little bit about the premise of this film. So The beginning of this film is when you see the group of kids out there, or young adults or whatever. They're out there. They're out having a camping trip. They're also there trying to score. Well, yeah, and find weed. Mm-hmm. And that's where everyone gets killed by Jason. And we also have one of our main characters kidnapped. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the film is a bunch of college kids go to this house. And then we also have Jared Padalecki's character looking for his sister, who is the kidnapped girl in said beginning. Mm-hmm. And to me, that felt like elements of the other different films.
Correct.
Almost kind of like 1 through 4 were mashed together, and they're like, okay, so let's make something on its own.
Right.
So it's creative, don't get me wrong.
No, it has ties with the franchise, absolutely. And it looks, feels, and acts like your standard Jason movie. Let's talk about this opening scene real quick. I love the fact that we get like essentially the first 15-20 minutes of the film before the title card. That I thought was really cool.
No, I love when films do that because it almost like gives you like taste. It's like
Right.
the appetizer of the film. I love when films do that. When films do that, I'm like, okay, I'll give you a shot. You got my attention.
And back in 2009 on opening day when I was sitting there watching I got to that part where I figured because they're doing the opening credits and they're pretty much giving you a recreation of the last 5-10 minutes of the original film during the opening credits, and it kind of ends there in terms of part 1, and then it kind of goes to part 2. And I just thought we weren't going to get a title card. I'm like, you know what? This kind of thing happens. Like, we get the credits, but they don't give you the title card. They'll wait to give you the title card, like, at the end credits.
Yeah, we all know what this film is.
Boom, Friday the 13th. There it is. But when you get that great shot of Jason, bagged head Jason, charging at the girl, flinging the machete up, and it cuts to black, and then you hear the sound effect, and then you see the title card. In my seat, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. What an opening to a movie. Little did I know that this would be the best part of the movie for me, but we'll get into that.
Well, there goes my smile.
Okay, so one of the things that I also want to give credit to is the almost traditional style this opening has. Mm-hmm. Because you have your, typical drinking and smoking and all the
teenagers
things,
being teenagers.
Yeah,
and
the stuff that you're not supposed to do in a horror movie.
Especially in a Friday the 13th.
Exactly.
Did they not read the script?
No, right? They do. And we get this, traditional style slash and gash Jason kill. What you expect is what you get. So
some of these kills in this beginning, again, I can go on and on. I can go on and on about this beginning, but oh man, the bear trap. Who doesn't cringe at a bear trap? The sleeping bag over the fire is particularly vicious.
Yeah, no, because that's not even a slow death.
No, it's not.
That's not a fast death. That's a slow death.
That's a painful death. And I thought when she was going into the sleeping bag, I thought we were going to get a recreation of the famous Kane Hodder sleeping bag death.
Yeah.
As seen in Part 7 and Jason X. But no, was I surprised? He just strung her up above the fire and let her burn to death.
Yeah, and he freaking left her.
Yeah, he did.
No, I absolutely love that. I also love, right after the bear trap, same victim, the machete to the head.
Yes.
That's very traditional Jason. And they did that so well and so flawless.
Kudos on the opening to this film, but let's get into the rest.
Do we have to talk about the rest?
We do, because there is a film to talk about here. We get to the rest of the film, and as you pointed out, it's very much, it turns into almost like two plots going at the same time. We have Jared Padalecki in his second, air quotes, remake, because he was also in House of Wax.
Another one that we must talk about.
But kind of proposes the same question. Is it a remake That's a different episode, folks. He's here looking for his sister, and his sister was one of the characters from this opening. It's been, what, a couple months or a couple weeks or something like that?
It's been like 6 weeks.
I've seen the movie like 7 times, and I
was about to say.
I find it harder and harder to pay attention each time I watch it. It's one of those, unfortunately, I'm kind of foreshadowing maybe my rating at the end. It's a movie that you can check in and out of. It's really easy to get distracted.
We call those bookmark films.
Exactly. So that's what he's doing. He's looking for his sister. She is considered missing. The entire group, I guess, is considered missing, but he's the only one actually doing something looking for it. Never mind the other 5 or 4 people that, were in this beginning.
That's fine.
And then at the same time, you got these yuppie college-level douchebags and their Jersey Shore girlfriends going up to a big expensive lake house to have what I can only best assume is going to be a huge bender. We meet probably one of the most hateable horror movie characters.
Yes.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Trent, played by Travis Van Winkle. I love this guy. He's such a douchebag. He oozes douchebag.
That jockey, arrogant character.
Rich
that you're like,
kid,
please just kill him.
overeducated asshole. Oh, absolutely. And I love every second of him on screen. I'm so glad he didn't die quick, that he made it throughout the majority of the movie. And he engages with this rivalry with Clay, who's the Jared Padalecki character. And they have such a dick measuring contest about the two of them. It's great. It is wonderful.
We love you, Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who gets that reference, please comment or write on any of our social media walls. If you guys are true horror fans, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Walker, Texas Ranger, we love it.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, and pretty much that's the setup. And it's very straightforward, paint by numbers from there. It's these college kids go up to this lake house to have a party, and Jason comes in and spoils it for them. Meanwhile, you have Clay looking for his sister Whitney, and for some reason we're led to believe she's still alive, even though everyone else is dead. Yeah, and we can only assume everyone else is dead from that beginning, but we'll figure out why later. And we are introduced to the new Jason, played by Derek Mears. And I want to talk about him real quick, because one of the worst things about this not getting a franchise off of it, and there's a lot of reasons why it didn't. There's a lot of speculated reasons. We'll get into it later. But the worst thing about it not igniting a franchise is that Derek Mears didn't get another chance to play Jason. I loved him.
No, he was very good.
I
don't think he got a fair chance.
He did not. And in my opinion, he ranked up there with Kane.
Yes.
He ranked up there with CJ Graham. He deserves a spot in the Jason Hall of Fame.
And he was very respectable with the character. He didn't try to do like his own thing or anything like that. Jason is one of those characters that is very beloved, as crazy as that sounds, where it's so legendary, where if you don't do it right, the fans will be brutal.
No, exactly. They're very
and
particular.
He did so well.
Yes.
And it's a shame that we didn't get to see another chance for him.
And from what I understand, he is the world's nicest guy.
Yeah.
And the other cast members reported say, like, we didn't know how we could do this movie with him because he's such a nice guy and so unlike Jason that they thought they were going to have a hard time running and screaming from this guy. But apparently once that mask came on, so did he. So
that's another thing I want to pick on.
That's a sign of a great actor, though.
That's true. That's true. Okay. The reveal of the hockey mask. Him finding it in the garbage, I don't mind. I don't care about that. But we see him take his sack off, and he puts the mask on, and he just kind of walks up to a mirror. I wanted a better reveal than that.
No, it was very poorly done.
I always, if I could remake it, I would do something even as stupidly simple as He finds the masks. You see him put it on, like from the back. And then when he goes to kill somebody, when they turn to see him, boom, there it is.
I mean, I can understand like them not wanting to bring in like a Shelley character, even though that would have been great from part 3. And I guess it makes sense because you're in this shack with this stoner guy who just cares about, growing weed and masturbating to magazines. So it makes logical sense how he finds the mask. It's just so anticlimactic. It's just
like,
lame.
Here you go.
So there's really no point to really talk about the plot because the plot is as you would imagine.
It's straightforward.
Jason's here. He terrorizes these kids. He kills them off one by one. Let's talk about really quick some of the questions they felt they had to answer, but they're questions that I didn't even need to know. But apparently people are obsessed with this one particular one. How does Jason get around from place to place so fucking fast?
He flies.
Well, apparently they address it in other things. They addressed it in the Friday the 13th video game where you get like super speed or something or Jason vision, and you can zip around Crystal Lake in a blink of an eye. This movie took more of a practical approach. There's these underground tunnels.
Like Disney.
Yeah. And that's how he zips from one end of Crystal Lake to the other.
Oh, there it is.
Well, I mean, what other explanation do you want?
I mean, it's
he's on an
neat.
ATV and he's like trouting around the woods. Is that what you're expecting?
Cruising around in the Jason mobile.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
But again, it's one of those things like I didn't need to know. He's Jason. That's what makes Jason fucking cool. But I mean, and I guess again the visuals of these tunnels are really cool, and they do pay off because that's where we find our character Whitney that Clay has been looking for, and Jason has been keeping her down there because ready for this part 2, everybody.
Bum, bum, bum.
She looks like his mother. Especially when she wears the sweater.
Creepy.
So there it is. So, and there is our elements of 1 through 4 sprinkled throughout this film.
Can we talk about the kills yet?
What are some of your favorite kills in this
I'm
film,
so glad
Quinn?
that you asked me that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So one thing that I would like to kind of pick on / talk about. Now, when I go water skiing, I don't ever think it's a good idea just not to wear a top doing it. Okay, that's not my intuition. Because
I thought you were going to say the exact opposite. I thought you were going to say, when I go water skiing, I go topless.
Yeah, no, but well, okay.
And you were going to be like screen accurate.
No, but like, if anybody has seen me, you know that I would injure myself if I did that. Also, if you smack into the water,
that's going to hurt.
That's going to hurt your poor titties. Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Ouch, town population, you, bro!
What I read was, I don't know if this was the way it was scripted or they actually shot it this way and then decided to reshoot it. But the original way this character dies is that she is wading in the water and it goes to night. And she's so exhausted and she just can't get out of the water because everywhere she turns, there's Jason. So she just drowns. And the craziest thing about it is it tracks because the next time we get Jason or get another kill, it's night.
Yeah, so
So
would
it
just make
totally
sense.
tracks.
That would have fit perfectly.
Let's talk about Jason and his kills really quick. I love the fact that Jason is very aggressive and he's quick and he runs. He acts like he wants to kill these people. He doesn't lumber around. He's not doing a Frankenstein walk. He is actively attacking people. And he's not just using the machete. The machete's great. We all love the machete. Don't get us wrong. But he is using arrows. He's using axes. He's, as we said before,
whatever he can get his
stringing
hands on.
people. He has so many devices in his tunnels down there. He's got booby traps. He's got, again, bear traps.
He's literally on a mission.
This is the only movie where I believe that Jason is a man of these woods.
Yes.
That he's been living there and living off the woods and the land for, how many years he's had to, 20, 30, whatever.
Derek Mears' Jason was a totally different animal than like Kane or CJ or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is very aggressive and almost like angry. Do you know what I mean?
Which is a good way to segue into my gripes with this movie, because it sounds like we've been pretty positive with it.
Okay.
But that's just what, in my opinion, I liked. Let's get into my problems with this film. We'll start off of what you just said, Quinn. He seems very angry. Why?
Because his mama died.
Oh, she did? Okay, I might have fallen asleep during the opening credits, or maybe I was getting popcorn and I didn't get to my seat on time. I wouldn't have known that, because this movie does not focus on any kind of origin. It doesn't focus on any kind of backstory.
But it already tells... Wait a second.
What?
It tells you in the beginning when she gets her head cut off, he watches his mother get killed by young adults, and he ends up... You see him crawl out, and he picks up his mother's head and crawls away.
Sure.
Okay, that's why he's angry.
I've seen the original.
Yeah,
I get that.
So it tells you why.
I'm talking about, say you come in off the street and you have never seen a Friday the 13th movie in your life, which I know is kind of ludicrous, because why would you go to this kind of movie? But who knows? Maybe there was somebody out there. I'm sure with the amount of money this made, there's somebody out there who's never heard of Friday the 13th or seen a Jason movie. They just wanted to see a cool slasher flick. Whatever. The way it's so quickly pushed to the side, and I do think that there is a version of this film that more emphasizes the first, I guess, the actual remake of the first movie. In other words, the origin of Jason, his mother and her dying and him and her killing spree, maybe they actually did. I don't get that watching this movie. Again, I try to watch movies, especially these remakes, with a clean slate, because like I said in the Blob episode from last week, click here, you should let these movies stand on their own. And if I just maybe missed that opening credit sequence, I would have no idea. None whatsoever, because it's never referenced again, except for, hey, Whitney, you look like his mom.
Well, okay, so what are you saying? This would have been better if we had more of a, maybe flashback glimpses to Jason growing up, something like that? I'm saying if the attempt was to establish a new Jason or a new Friday the 13th or a new start to a franchise, you have to do some groundwork. To say that this is... But what happens if their standpoint with it was that it's not important?
Why wouldn't it be important? Because as I said, why would Jason be killing these people? What makes him so mad? Because here's another problem I have with this movie. You notice throughout this entire review, I've just been calling it Crystal Lake and not Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah, because
there is no camp. There is no Camp Crystal Lake, which totally negates this opening sequence that you're telling me about why Jason is, or why he does what he does, because that's clearly a camp, and that's clearly a camp counselor. I don't know if that's Alice, but that's clearly a camp counselor decapitating Mrs. Voorhees in the beginning. Not mentioned again. Not seen again. The rest of the movie, we're just out in the middle of the woods where this pot plant grows, and we're at this rich lake house. That's it. There's no camp. And that's another thing that I think this movie really lacks in. It lacks the familiarity of, well, it's Friday the 13th. We want to be at Camp Crystal Lake. We want to see camp counselors being knocked off one by one, not just college douchebags.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if this was them trying to make something different...
Then why is it called a remake? Here it is. This is answering the question. Again, here we go. We're plugging away at this. Chipping away at it, rather. There's no camp. It's not a camp. It's just Jason in the woods. And I guess the town is called Crystal Lake. Is that what the deal is?
Yes.
Okay. Lame.
Well.
Weak. I mean, if you didn't want to make a Jason movie, but you just wanted a movie with Jason in it, then just make another Jason movie.
But again,
why not? To me, what that says is the writers didn't want to make Friday the 13th Part 11 and Part 12. But that's exactly what they ended up doing.
No, because if it was part 11 or part 12, you would be in Camp Crystal Lake. You would have more of the backstory a little bit. You wouldn't have to establish the mom storyline, because if it was 11 and 12, then you've already got it.
Yeah, but that's ridiculous.
So then, no, you can't make it an 11 or 12 because it doesn't even track.
Yeah, but that's ridiculous. It'd be like the same producers of this movies who produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre and said, like, you know what? Let's like base this not in Texas.
Alabama
Yeah,
Chainsaw Massacre.
Doesn't
it doesn't
really have
roll off the tongue.
No, it doesn't have the right ring to it. No. So again, that's my thing with this. And then the other gripes I have with this movie is it's very forgettable.
I was actually surprised when I was talking to people in groups about modern remakes when somebody would mention this film. Do you know actually how many people were like, either I didn't know they did that or I forgot about that film completely?
And I don't blame them, because it's one of those movies. You go to the theater, because I was one of these people. You go to the theaters, you sit down, you watch it. About 2 hours later, you're thinking about something else.
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't resonate with you. And as elaborate as some of the deaths are, you certainly don't care for these people. You can at least say that the original was relatable, because a lot of us have been camp counselors, or a lot of us have gone to camp. And that's what made it relatable. And you got invested in these characters. We've all been horny teenagers, sure. But I don't think we've all been rich, overprivileged, overeducated douchebags, as this movie would imply.
Oh, there it is.
I mean, I can see your point. The movie is very much, if you see it once, then for me, I'm not quite sure why I've seen this movie so many times, to be honest with you. And every time, I've literally seen this movie like 5 or 6 times.
Background noise. Yeah, it's something to occupy your brain, but you're doing something else.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, every time I watch this movie, when I get done with it, I'm like, why did I watch that again? Just why? And also, there are some parts that really do drag.
Yes.
Or they're boring.
Yes.
So, I mean, this movie has some high points, but it really does fall short on quite a few things, and quite a few of those things are very important key things, key factors for not only a Jason film, but for the continuity of the franchise.
I was a little surprised that Clay didn't die. I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand it's Padalecki, and we killed him in House of Wax, so we owed him one.
We love you, Sammy.
I was a little surprised by that one.
Let's be honest. Male characters don't usually last that long in horror films.
They really don't. I did appreciate, while we're talking about characters, I did appreciate Aaron Yu's character Chewie. I thought he was great comic relief. Especially the scene when he's in the shed and he meets his demise and he hands him the hockey stick. I thought that was funny. And then, again, gotta talk about Trent. My God, Trent. Love that guy. Such a punchable face.
I know. He reminds you of that guy that is like, yeah, a lot of girls think that he's dreamy, but man, he's an asshole.
Complete. The entire, everything, even to his friends, he's a total dick.
No, exactly. What's the point of being at a party or being at someone's house if you can't touch anything? I was waiting for him to say you can't sit.
No, really? No, doesn't he say that? Like, that's my dad's chair or something like that?
Don't sit in my dad's chair.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything. Don't eat any of the food. If you need something, ask.
And he cheats on his girlfriend at the first opportune moment.
Yeah,
That's
and is very
wonderful.
open about it.
And he meets a very colorful demise with the tow truck. And from what I can only assume was universe building with the guy driving, because that's clearly the old man from Texas Chainsaw, the remake. I mean, but he's not the only character from the Texas remake. You had the diner owner or something. The Padalecki talks. He's going door to door looking for his sister and putting up flyers and asking, has anyone seen Whitney? And you have the grandmother from Texas, the remake, and she pretty much delivers the same speech. The whole, you shouldn't go messing around where you shouldn't be messing around. They should just leave him alone and let him be. And she has the accent, and I'm like, oh my God, did they forget which movie they were making? I understand, same producer and same fucking director, and we are dealing with one of the same actors, but holy crap, dude. This is not Texas. It's New Jersey.
Well, yeah, Texas, Jersey.
So similar.
So
right?
similar, yeah.
Stupid!
Okay, so let's divulge into this question if we haven't done it enough already. We went to our groups, and one of them is a very special group to us.
Yes, the Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In Mutant Collective. I want to give you guys a little bit of a shout out. You guys have been amazing, and you jumped right in whenever we asked for opinions or questions or anything like that. And with Remake Month, there were so many people who gave me titles that I didn't know that there were remakes of, or things that I had never heard of. So you guys rock. We appreciate you.
And that's just one of our groups. We have many groups, but special shout out to them. We went to them and we asked, Friday the 13th, 2009, remake or no? What say you? And we got a lot of feedback for a while. This was pretty split down the middle. A lot of people were like, yes, totally remake. And then other people were like, no, it was a reboot. It was to start something anew, even though it shares the same name and has the character of Jason. But then as the poll progressed and the more and more comments, it began to quite aggressively shift to people not only saying it is a remake, but defending it so hardly that it is a remake. And I gotta tell you guys, I love you and I love being a part of the group. I couldn't disagree with you more.
Oh, God.
And here's why. Listen to this episode. It's pretty obvious. This is not a remake. It is a reboot. It is a requel. It is a restart. It is a rehash. It is a cash in on the title. Here's the wonderful thing about opinions. There can be many.
That is so very true.
They can be many, and they can also change. It's open for discussion. If you think I'm wrong by saying that you're wrong, please tell me. I have no problem having a conversation with you, as long as you keep it civil. Don't hurt my feelings.
What feelings?
It's not a remake. It is a reboot.
No,
it should be
I
classified.
think it's a reboot.
It should be classified as a reboot. To say it is a remake means you are going to retell a particular
Same story, yeah.
You can tell it differently. You can have your own interpretation of it, but ultimately
your outline has to be the same.
Exactly. Ultimately, your destination should stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
How you get there can be different, but the path remains the same. The mere fact that Jason is the main antagonist and the focal point of this film proves it's not a remake. Friday the 13th was not about Jason.
No.
It was about Pamela.
Yeah.
Pamela is in about 45 seconds of this movie. How is it a remake? And one of the people, I'm not going to name names, but one of the people did comment and come at me and say, the movie opens with the last 5 minutes of the original movie. Boom, there's your remake. Okay, so what? It's a remake of part 2? Because I paid for a ticket that said Friday the 13th, not Friday the 13th part 2 again.
That would have been a really expensive ticket. I mean, that long.
That would have been hilarious. Yeah. But that's what I mean. And then you got the other things in it. You have the Clay character. He's essentially the character from Final Chapter, looking for his sister. You have Whitney. That's Amy Steele's character, through and through, from part 2.
So you're saying it's a recycle?
They recycle elements. They said it. It's right there in the backstory. If you go back to the beginning of our episode, they recycled and used elements that they liked. They essentially sprinkled in and laced elements from the first 4.
So they Frankensteined it.
But that's what makes it a reboot. Yes, it's familiar territory, but it's not a retelling of the original story.
Okay, so then, I mean, I can agree with that. I can see it as a reboot, and so I think that's the side that's winning right now. So, I mean, if you disagree with us...
No, I mean, the last I looked, it was a lot more people saying that this is a remake.
I mean, again, that's all about opinion, and I would love to hear your guys' opinions and why you guys think that, it is a remake or why you think that it is a reboot. I want to hear everyone's different, opinions. Maybe they see something or have heard something that, we hadn't before. I'd like to hear your guys' side of it.
The best way I can describe it or compare it, we'll take it out of the elements of horror for a second.
Okay.
You cannot say that Man of Steel was a remake of Richard Donner's Superman the movie, because it's not. It's a reboot. Yes, it's the same character. It has elements of the same. His origin, the explosion of Krypton, his growing up in Smallville. There are elements that are the same, yes. But it's ultimately telling a different rebooted story. It's restarting something. It's a fresh start. It's a clean slate. It's not a remake. Mm-hmm. However, you're going to hate me for bringing this up.
Oh, God.
Rob Zombie's Halloween is a remake. He retold the same story. He did it very differently, questionably different, I'll even give you. And the results were just as questionable, but he told the story again. He retold John Carpenter and Deborah Hill's original story. That's not the case with this movie.
No.
And that's what we were kind of led to believe. So, what better way than to get into rating? So, Quinn, when it comes to the questionable remake that is Friday the 13th, 2009, what say you?
I guess I'm going to lean more toward a 2.
A 2?
Yeah, because the pros of it is, again, the opening title, the opening beginning of it is very grasping. And I do like the fact that they have some of the elements from the original films. And I do like the way that Derek Mears portrayed Jason in his own way, but in a very respectable way. I am a huge Jared Padalecki fan, so to me that man can do no wrong. But again, with all these things that we're talking about and how forgettable the film is, it just kind of falls short, And it is one of those films where you can have it on for background noise, and you can be doing laundry or vacuuming, and you don't really miss anything. So that's 2.
Okay, that's solid. Well, I'm going to rate it 2 ways. As a remake, I'll give it a 1.
Ooh.
Didn't happen. It didn't check enough boxes. You're done with the first movie before the opening credits are finished. That doesn't count with me. Give me a movie that not only examines Pamela's story, but maybe retells or gives us a different interpretation of Jason's origin instead of just going into it's another Jason slash and Gash movie. And by the way, this is why critics had a hard time with this movie. They saw it as just another Jason movie. And they're right, in my opinion. So as a remake called Friday the 13th, I give it a 1. As a Jason movie, I'll give it a 2.5. And the reason why that one's a little bit low is because even though it has its positive points, mainly being Derek Mears as Jason, as you said, and it does have some creative kills, and some of the characters are entertaining, it's ultimately forgettable. It's very bland. It comes and goes. It is background noise. Movies, as bad as they are in the franchise, like Jason Takes Manhattan or Jason X, they resonate with me a lot more than this one did. I might not rate it any higher, but at least have it made an impression on me. This one's just it's here. It's there. It exists.
It kind of is in limbo.
It really is, and I can understand why it didn't progress after this. They just didn't do enough, and they failed miserably. Again, my opinion on the standards of a remake. So as a remake, 1. As a Jason movie, 2.5. But in regards to this being the last film in Jason's story, Friday the 13th, 2009 ended up being a date that was very unlucky. Alright, the Gov is going to tell you real quick how to bring the horror into your own home with a handmade soy wax candle from American Nightmare Candle Company. The scents are inspired by locations iconic to the horror genre, places like the Overlook Hotel, Sleepy Hollow, and Elm Street. Each fragrance combination is carefully curated to transport you into the story, and the catalog is ever evolving. So head over to Etsy or to AmericanNightmareCandles.com and get 10% off when you use the code Scarifyer at checkout. This deal only makes sense, so get your American Nightmare candle today.
Hey there, it's Quinn from Scarifyer. You ever have one of those days where you're out on the lake and the sun's going down, gazing into the eyes of that special someone, and then you realize, I brought my machete, but no hockey mask? Well, if you're in a rush to make a killing, head over to 13X Studios and get your very own custom hockey mask. Mask creator Rick Stizinski takes a hands-on approach to every order to create the perfect mask to your specialized needs. Why would you settle for red triangles when you can shop an assortment of original styles and colors? Rick's clientele includes Nightmare Toys, Kevin Smith, and Kane Hodder. Head online to follow 13X Studio on all social media platforms. Then go over to 13X Studios on Etsy to put in your custom order today. Don't get caught with your mask off while devising your next decapitation. Go to 13xstudios.com.
Scarifyer.